Crafters Big D here, and this week we're going to be doing an overview of all of the Death Guard that I've painted in 2019. I'd like to introduce you all to the Inexorable Choir of Delirium. Okay, so the backbone, the core, the base of any solid army is your baseline troops. Now, Death Guard only have 3 options for troops, and I have all 3. Starting off here on the left, I've got 2 squads of 10 cultists. Squad 1 is all outfitted with pistols and melee weapons and has a flamer for support on that team. The leader's kitted out with a shotgun and a melee weapon. The problem is that this leader is legal according to 7th edition, but 8th edition they changed him. So I don't use the cultist too often, so I don't worry about it too much. But when I do, I make sure I kit him out properly. Unfortunately, the model is built the way the model is built. My second squad, I actually built using the all-auto gun option, and the heavy weapons guy in there actually has a heavy stubber. Again, this is the squad I actually use more often than the short weapon squad. I'll use these guys with a rhino, dump them off on an objective, forward up on the board, and just leave them there to just board control and annoy somebody when I use them. Typically, I use them in low to medium point games. They don't have the 5-up Disgusting and Resilient, and they're pretty bad at shooting, pretty bad at surviving. They're just a bunch of guys. So they're an objective grabber, and that's all I really use them for. On the other hand, I have my Poxwalkers. Now, Poxwalkers are in a weird place. They're cheap as heck, but they're really slow. So currently I've got 2 squads of 20 built, and I've got the 3rd squad beginning to build. I have the rest of them built and primed, but I'm starting to paint them. That's one of my goals for 2020. Is to get that last squad of 20 built, so I have a full 60 Poxwalker unit ready to go. I'll only run Poxwalkers if I'm running Typhus and a Plague Surgeon, and that's really about it. Again, a great objective holder, great screener, but they're so slow. And because I play a very aggressive, very in-your-face kind of Death Guard, they're really only good for sitting on objectives, or if I can swarm somebody that's trying to push towards the middle. But you got to start them off. Your deployment has got to be really far forward as you can go. And I love the way they look. I hate their stats. So they are what they are. On the other hand, a lot of people complain about them, but I love my Plague Marines. I have 3 squads of 7. I went with the Papa Nurgle gift of 7, so that each one of them is 7 troops. Got a leader. All 3 of my leaders are built with a plasma, a plague sword, and a power fist. Although I'll often, if I need to shave a couple points, I'll shave the sword into a knife. And if need be, I'll even shave the plasma gun into just a regular bolt gun. But 3 squads of 7. Squad 1 and 3 are modeled out with a pair of blight launchers. Squad 2 actually has a pair of plasma users. If I'm playing a friendly game, I'll typically sub those plasmas out for blight launchers. I like blight launchers more. I typically run Arch Contaminator for my leader, so I like plague weapons. I like them a lot. This is the one thing this army has unique, so I want to use as much plague weapons as I can. Additionally, what I'm looking to do, like I said, I'm trying to build the rest of my 20 so I can have a 3rd squad of Poxwalkers. I have a couple of melee guys that I have built completely custom. I started off with an Aspiring Champion in this one and replaced his axe with a flail. And I think this was also an Aspiring Champion that I did the same thing to, but his arm came off, so I replaced it with some gross thing, and his head ended up being frog-like. So these are my two flail guys. I mainly use them in kill team for now, but my goal is to complete a squad, a 7-man squad that is melee-centric, like has an axe, has a couple of the dual weapon wielders, and the only guy with the gun is the squad leader. And the idea is to run them forward with a rhino and dump them off in the middle of somebody's face and really tie up a high-value unit with them. They're so durable. They just stick around forever. And those flails are deadly. They are so dangerous. So, but in a perfect world, and I have the figures for them at this point, I just have to paint them, I'm going to have 6 squads of nothing but Plague Marines. I'm going to have a full brigade worth that I can just sit down, 6 squads of Plague Marines, and just go nuts. I like Plague Marines. I like the way they play. I like the way they work. Yes, they may be overcosted, but I love them. I love the way they fit my playstyle. And as you can see, all my figures have custom bases. I try to keep this throughout the army. Anybody that is an actual Nurgle base that's not one of these little guys has the same kind of base, where I've put the gross bored holes and they've got worms digging out through it, and they'll often have like pods, or they'll have eyeballs or teeth, or just something that they're walking across, like they're corrupting the land as they walk across it. That is all custom sculpting, and every unit has it. I went with the classic scheme. As you can see, I'm painting them all using Death Guard green, lots of coppery golds, some silver, and I use a lot of Agrax on them and a lot of camo shade to really make them look dirty and grimy and grubby. And then after I'm done, I'll give them a gloss coat, because as per the name, delirium indicates a high fever. So I want my guys to be slimy with sweat. They're just sweaty with fever as they come roaring across the battlefield. So that's the thing with this army. So that is my troops. Next up, we're going to take a look at our elites. All right, so elites. Not a lot of them going on here, and I've got some definite acquisitions I want to make, but let's talk about a few of them a bit. We're going to start with my least favorite and work our way up to my favorites. So, least favorite we're going to talk about are the characters, because unfortunately, the character elites leave a little to be desired. Let's start off with this guy. I believe it's the Noxious Blightbringer is his name. I don't know. Honestly, he comes in the Dark Imperium starter box. I've never used him. I've never seen where he is worth his points. I love the figure. Don't get me wrong. I love this sculpt. I love the way he looks. I think he is a gorgeous, gorgeous figure. I love the fact that he has a Nurgling hanging off his shoulder, the huge bell on top, the sensors all jangling off him. Speaking as a figure, this guy is beautiful. He's really expensive, and he's really not worth what he does. I think he lets people move a little faster. And you can swap out the bell for a relic. I've never seen a use to playing him. Just not at all. Along with the Tallyman. The Tallyman, again, I think he's another one that allows faster movement. And again, just a beautiful figure. Just so much going on in this figure. And the fact that he can get command points back makes him really useful. To a point. He's still really super expensive. Like 70 points or so on the current numbers. And I've never found that I've had the point to spare to throw him into an army. It's just a real disappointment. The Plague Surgeon. Once again, these sculpts are gorgeous. He is such a beautiful figure. Such a beautiful character. I spent a lot of time trying to get him down because he is just so pretty. And I've had one army where I got him some real use out of him because he lets you reroll ones on disgusting and resilient rolls. So with a massive Poxwalker blob, him sitting in the middle of it really helped because Poxwalkers live a lot longer. But that is literally the only time I found him to be really useful. I haven't played him very much. Again, I haven't been able to squeeze in the points where I found that his ability was so needed, except for that big Poxwalker army I tried out once. So I'm going to try and use him some more because he is such a beautiful figure, and he looks like he should be good. So I'm not really sure. And lastly, probably my favorite figure in all the Death Guard, the Foul Blightspawn. Look at that tank. I spent a lot of time painting this guy. I really wanted to make him gross. I want 2 more of him. I want to be able to throw 3 of them down the field. That Blight Squirter of his is absolutely devastating. In that 2,500 point game that was the battle report for a few weeks back, he literally won me a lot of that game by just sitting on an objective and keeping anything that came near from coming close. That Squirter is just deadly. So, love that figure. Want 2 more. Probably point for point, one of the most efficient single model figures in the army, as far as infantry goes. Alright, let's go to the big boy. Brother Angryface. My customed out Hellbrute. I put a lot of work into that base. Well, you can see this, but there's a lot of like pods and pustules, and I mean, I really want that base to look nasty. And then this is the one that the monopose one that came out of the Dark Vengeance box. I took some green stuff and I hung some bells off those chains. I got rid of the multi-melta and I swapped it out for some Lego pieces that I have made it look like it would look like a nice dual laser, because that's what I wanted. I couldn't replace his arm with a rocket pod, so if I get another one of these, I want to swap them out for rocket pod and multi-laser, really make him heavy anti-armor. But again, I love this figure. I love the work I did with him. I got him early on, so it let me really kind of get the feel for what I wanted to do with the Inexorable Choir. So, I love this guy. I love the lore behind the Hellbrute. If you read the Death Guard Codex, when they talk about Hellbrutes, the guy they're locking into the Hellbrute suit, he's literally screaming and begging them as they're locking him in place, just let me die. Heart-wrenching. Just horrible. Grimdark up to 11. So the reason they're just so angry, it's beautiful. And then my favorite boys, my fat boys, the Terminators. Now, I bought them originally for Kill Team when Kill Team came out for Elites. So I've got them actually made so I can swap out 2 of the guys and make them 2 of them heavy weapons guys as per allowed by Kill Team. And I can have 2 separate weapons. But this is my main heavy weapons guy. My typical kit with him when I'm playing him in the army is he will have a Blight Launcher, but I do have the Plague Spitter and the autocannon. Again, I might use the autocannon for Kill Team. Sometimes this might be useful for 40k, but again, I love Blight Launchers. I have a thing for them. I really like them. They're great. And you'll notice I kitted them all out with the weapons a little different. They don't really give you the parts. I guess you could magnetize them up, but I just... When I play them, I'm normally playing friendly games, so I'll say, hey, all 3 of them, because I do kit them out the same. If I'm kit them out with the bolters, typically it's a melt-a-bolter combo, so they can do the advance and shoot if need be. And you've got the one guy with the flail, and this is probably one of my favoriteest figures in the entirety of my army. This is Steve. And if you look at Steve's face, the reason he's Steve is he's just happy to meet you. Hi, I'm Steve. Steve here has sat on an objective being shot at by 3 full squads of Drukhari and bounced it all. He just, with the very first few times I played him, he had such incredible luck with his rolls. He was virtually unkillable. It was so beautiful, the luck I had with him. So, I haven't really matched up to that luck with him since those first few, but he's my guy. I love the Terminators. I love this look. I love this flail, and I love the time I spent to make those flames look that way. And I like the fact that they bolted a piece of metal directly onto his butt, because his butt was just breaking his armor open. He's just so meaty. I love these guys. I love the Death Guard. God, they're so gross. Just love them to death. All right, let's take a look at our fast attack and our vehicles next. All right, vehicles, demon engines, fast attack, all kinds of happiness here. Let's start off talking about these two guys, my Chaos Spawn. I built and bought those Chaos Spawn for an escalation league I was in. I needed a cheap fast attack unit, and they fit the bill. They are not durable. They are not great at anything they do, and they're very random. I love the sculpts. I don't regret buying them because they helped me in that league, but they will definitely not have any brethren adding to them. I doubt I'd use them again except in a very low point game. They're just not that great a unit for what I do. Some people I've heard have great effect with them. I don't. I have much better choices, but at their point cost, there was nothing better at that point. So they worked out well for me at that point. I love painting them. They were fun to paint, fun to customize, lots of base to work with. Fun figure. I don't know if I ever do another Chaos Army other than Death Guard. Maybe I'll think about getting some more. Because that's the other thing. I don't cross-use my vehicles. I don't cross-use my troops or anything. If I'm building a unit for an army, I'm building it in its custom colors. That's just the way I am. That's just me. So, let's talk about the meat and potatoes now. First off, the Mephitic Blight Hauler, or as I love to call them, they're fart carts. These guys do work. Oh my gosh, I've heard a lot of complaints about them, but you know, that multi-melta and that missile launcher and that ability to screen, giving cover, minus to hit, due to the clouds of just stench, the fact that if you get them in melee, they will rip you apart. With 3 of them together, they got a +1 to hit. Yeah, you know, if anybody focused fire and really tried to get rid of one, that would really harm them, but I often find people are so worried about other units that they don't take the time to really hammer these guys, and they're both a demon engine, so they get a 5-up invul save, and they're Nurgle, so they get the 5-up disgustingly resilient. These guys do work. They have a lot of wounds, and they can take a beating. And they are just angry little things. God, all that mouth, that maw, all that meat, and just the fun you can have. And you notice I painted all 3 of mine a little different from each other, because I want to be able to tell them apart, and I wanted to have them, you know, look a little visually different. I was testing some paint schemes on them, testing some paint procedures, and learning. And that's the greatest thing about them, because if they look kind of ugly and messed up, well, that's okay, because they're Nurgle. You can cover them with enough shade and it'll be unnoticeable. I actually did some blood effects on this one. I wanted to make him look like he's the young guy. That's why he's so bright. You know, here's my really old guy. He's all rusty and verdigrised up, and everything's just kind of brown and caked on. And here's the veteran, where he's got his colors and he's good to go, but, you know, he's just is what it is. And this is the fresh demon. And he's still bloody and pink and just wanting to get out there and rawr. And I love him. God, I love those hard cards. 3 of them is all, you know, it's a max unit is 3. I could use another 6. I don't know that I would. I like having one group of them running around just causing havoc. I think 3 of them makes a good number. So I probably won't get any more of them. The Blight Drone. Ah, God. You talk about doing work. These guys do work. These guys lift their weight. And I've yet to have a game where they did not earn back their points almost double, probably, in the amount of stuff that they just destroyed. They are so dangerous, so resilient, so fast. That twin spitter is just wrong, and if you're dumb enough to try and engage them in melee, they're going to rip you to pieces and then flit away and shoot you again. I love these things. Just a fun build, just a very fun paint job, just a great dynamic figure. And I know there's a flesh mower option or a heavy spitter option. I like the default right out of the dark Imperium box. I think the base loadout, I think that's just perfect. Do I want another one? Yes. I actually want a 3rd one, so I can run a max number. I think these guys I even be able to be squatted up into a couple at a time, but I think just getting one more should be enough. That'll be perfectly good with me. I want to get another Dark Imperium box anyhow, so that'd be great. I get a 3rd one just like that. Both these guys are the easy to build versions, and I think they're perfect. And I painted them again a little different. This guy's a lot more coppery, and this guy is a lot more silver, and I used more of that off-white that I made dirty, so he's kind of got their original coloring, but there's still green on him, so you can see that he's a member. I did that with some of the figures here and there, just to kind of try out some of them white schemes. I'm not a real fan of them, honestly, but there are cases where they look good, especially if you can make them look nice and dirty, and I did with this guy, and I like how grimy he looks. So, now, the what some people consider to be the most point-efficient model in the Death Guard army, the Plague Burst Crawler. Mine is magnetized. I can swap these out for the other weapon. I've never used the other weapon. The spitters are the only thing I've bothered with them. I don't think I've even swapped out the gun, really, but I mean, I have the option to do so. Such an amazing looking figure. Just such a great build. So much beautiful detail on this model. Just a beautiful model altogether. I've got another one coming. So I will have a second one. I want 3. I want 3 Plague Burst Crawlers for my army. When I have 3 of them, I'll be fine. But I have one coming. I have a 3rd one that I need to get. And once I have 3 Plague Burst Crawlers, I will be complete with my desires for that end of the army. Gotta love the Plague Burst Crawler. Anytime I can use it, I can. I was surprised that my 2,500 point army didn't have it in there. But I was playing Knights, and against Knights, that giant mortar isn't that good. It's really more of an infantry killer. So I'm looking forward to playing against an infantry armor so I can just bomb the shit out of them with that. And then my Rhino, my custom Rhino. There is no resin on this thing. This is all custom mold that I did there with green stuff. It is this was one of the first real psycho custom jobs I tried to do. I went kind of crazy with it. If I actually open up the back here, you can see that this grows down in the bottom, and the eyeball on the inside, unlike the one on the outside, the one on the inside is kind of covered like a cataract. But there's another eyeball back in there looking in you. And actually, I bothered to put some blinky lights in there so that, you know, it's kind of hellish in there. Lots of meat and spikes, and just crowd on in, guys. We're gonna have some fun. Yeah, I want a couple more rhinos. I don't know that I need them. I barely use them, but gosh, I want a couple more just because they're such a fun model to paint and customize. I really want to set up some more rhinos, and maybe in a big army, in a big fight, be able to run a couple of them out there. So far, I've never had a fight where I ever saw a need for more than one rhino, but I think if I had more than one rhino, I could tailor my army to that. I definitely want at least 2 more rhinos, just for nothing else, just for the customization and paint options. I've been gifted some doors and some hatches from a couple different people that I can really make those things nurgle them up. So, yeah. Such a great model. I mean, I love the Death Guard, and I love their unique models. Their unique models just have so much character to them. Just beautiful, beautiful figures. All right, so let's get these guys off the table, and we're going to come back and we're going to look at our HQs, and we do have quite a few of them. I run a lot of different options for HQ, so let's take a peek. All right, let's talk about HQs. This is where I think my real strength for my army is the fact that I have the options to a lot of different HQs, and Death Guard has some of the best HQs in the game, my opinion. Let's start off with the guy I use every single game. My Plague Caster. That's the original unique figure out of the Dark Imperium box. I use him every single game. He is more often than not my Warlord. If I run him with a relic, I run him with the helm that extends his fields, which allow him, when he rolls a 7 or higher on a psychic test, he normally has that 7 inches where he can hit a mortal wound. Having it out to 10 inches gives a little bit more versatility. Taking his, because I use Lord of Contagion as my, typically as the way I run my army, allowing his field to go from 6 inches to 9 inches, I believe. Just the adding 3 inches all the way around is just a really useful relic. He, again, does a lot of work. The other guy that I use almost every single time is my Demon Prince of Nurgle, and this is a custom build. I took a basic Demon Prince body. I took some bloat drone wings, some extra tentacles, some green stuff and some spikes, the head from the bloat drone. I took a belt from the easy to build Plague Marines and just took everything off and put that mouth on his belly like that. More tentacles on the back. I wanted to make sure that nobody confused him for anything else than what he is, which is just death personified. Beat stick. Put the separating plate on him, and he brings heat. Such a dangerous figure. Out of the Dark Vengeance box, the Chaos Lord that came out of there, I usually, if I'm running him, I run him as the obviously the plasma pistol and a Bale sword. I love the figure. I love the sculpt on him. I think he's a great figure. The fact that he doesn't get disgustingly resilient, I don't understand why they don't do that. If you're in the Nurgle faction, you should be getting that disgustingly resilient, but he doesn't. So he doesn't see as much use as always. The same goes for my Chaos Lord in Terminator armor. I will run him sometimes when I need some extra beatdown with my Terminators. Again, with the running him with a multi-melta, or a Storm Bolter Melta combo. And the reason he has the side is almost always when I run him, I pay for the power sword, but I upgrade it to the relic sword that's out of the codex. That makes it just, again, do a lot of damage and a lot of work. Lets him really jack things up. So that's how I run him. The head. Actually, I don't remember if that's a Demon Prince head or a Bloat Drone head, but I wanted to make him look very obviously because the figure itself is not a GW figure. It's actually I wanted to stick some GW stuff on there to identify it better. But it's a beautiful sculpt, beautiful figure. And then 2 Lords of Corruption. This is the other guy I will sometimes run. I have 2 of them because I got 2 for the 2 boxes, and it was a good opportunity to paint and test painting things. But I will reuse him. If I'm not using this guy with my Terminators, if I want to add some really extra beatdown, I'll throw one of these guys with my Terminators just to add some real hurt on there. That axe, I mean, he's slow and he has no gun, but that axe puts things down, puts them down hard. So he's a really okay figure. He's not really great, he's not really bad, he's just really okay. The fact that he doesn't have a gun and is so slow is kind of disappointing. So I don't use him very much either. Now the 2 unique figures. Typhus. Typhus is really kind of underwhelming. It's such a gorgeous figure. You just want to use him. But unless you're running like a bunch of Poxwalkers, he's really not that useful a figure. I mean, he's a good psyker, but I'd rather put in a second one of these guys. And now, when I've run him with Poxwalkers, I've run 40 Poxwalkers with him and a Plague Surgeon, they did okay. Again, that's a lot of points on a gimmick unit. So, again, beautiful figure. I loved painting him. I love that I painted his armor the green, but I painted his helmet that dirty white, and really tried to make him look really sharp. I spent a lot of time painting him, and I love the look of the figure. I just, I don't think he does as well as he probably could. I think they need to really kind of readdress him, or maybe replace him with a different figure. He's again, much like the Lord of Corruption, he is really okay. He's not bad, he's not great. So, And then, the favorite figure in my collection, my favorite figure in the entirety of my collection, period, is my Mortarion. I notice I painted him in the white that I made very dirty. Because nobody's going to confuse him for anything else. This figure was painted 100% no airbrush. This was all hand painted. I wanted the wings to look like distended, stretched, sickly skin, which is why they're layers of purple. They get lighter as they get towards the veins. I love this figure. Does he have flaws? Yeah, I mean, he gets shot off the table. Because he's so big, he's hard to hide. Because he's so dangerous, people will often alpha strike the crap out of him. If they don't, I've seen him down a Titan in one round. I've seen him, when they couldn't get heavy firepower on him, I've seen him run around and absolutely destroy another army because they couldn't put big firepower on him because I managed to tie up their big firepower. And that was a case where he won me a game because he just went from unit to unit to unit to unit, just destroying them as he went around. That was a really great game for me. So, I mean, you get what you pay for. He's a massive figure. He's a lot of points. He's an expensive figure. I mean, financially. If you play Death Guard, you should get one. Even if you never play him, you should get one and just have him, as he is the Lord and Master of the Death Guard. He is the guy. He is the Emperor's son and the chosen of Nurgle. He's a beautiful figure. I love him to death. The details on him, the details on his base, the little Nurglings dancing around, the flames, the weapons. Oh, he's just a beautiful figure. I've seen people paint him in different ways and seen some really beautiful paint jobs on him. I love mine. I love the way mine looks. So I'm happy with him. I'm happy with this army. So yeah, that is the HQ portion of my army. That's everybody. What do I want from more HQs? I'd like to get actually the unique Plague Caster that comes out of the Season 3 Heroes. I might want to get another Demon Prince. But I really don't have any other desires. For my command squad. My command squad is really where I want it. Oh, I take that back. Lord Felthius. I would love to get a Lord Felthius and that easy build kit, and then build up his other two guys, so I actually have another squad of Terminators. I like Lord Felthius. I think he's actually, I don't know if he's a great figure, but again, he's unique and he's easy to build, so I can paint him up in so much detail. So I'd love to paint him up and just to put him on here, and that would give me most of another squad of Terminators. Speaking of him, he is the other reason, and Terminators, he's the reason I want to get the Bodyguard Terminators. With the Bodyguard Terminators, again, it's a huge points expenditure, but the Bodyguard Terminators with him give him a nice screen of extra hit points and extra hits that really let him do work. And again, that's the goal. When you've got an army, you want to get the big figures in there to do the work. You want your figures to do work. So probably that is the other goal. They're not really HQ, but you only get them if you're going with HQ. So the Death Shroud, I believe they're called the Death Shroud Terminators. I would like to get a squad of them. Lord Felthius comes with 3 the other Terminators, so the ones I already have a squad of, so I get 2 more to match up, and we got a good squad of guys there. But that's pretty much it. Maybe another Demon Prince. Maybe another one of these. I don't need any more Lords. I've got the 2 Lords I can use. I use them so infrequently. Mainly, well, I can't say that. I use him a lot just for that reroll of 1s. But nah, I think I'm pretty good there, other than a couple things I want. So let's pack these up, and we'll come back to the bench, and we'll talk about the army as a whole and what my desires for the next year of Death Guard are going to bring me. So just as a quick overview, in 2019, we painted 112 Death Guard figures. Not bad for our first year back in the hobby, and not bad for our first 40K army. All right, crafters, so there you go. That is the entirety of my Death Guard since I didn't start playing 40K until February of 2019. This is 1 year's worth of build. I quick threw it all in the Battle Scribe, and interestingly enough, it is very obvious to me that there were some point drops, because everything I have put in ends up being worth 211 power or 3,539 points. I am 2 heavy support units short of a brigade. Now, I do have another Plague Burst Crawler coming, so the next step is to either get another Plague Burst Crawler after I get that one, or a Dorado or a Leviathan Dreadnought, and then I will have a full brigade worth of Death Guard. Also, to be told and truthful, I am still building several more units of the Death Guard Plague Marines, so we'll get our brigade that way, as well as I want a few more Rhinos. So we still have a bit to go. But the neat thing is, because I've got most of the individual characters already, I'm already almost done with the army. There really won't be, unless they do some like new releases and some new vehicles, pretty close. I'd like a single Dorado. I'd like a single Leviathan just so I can have one for the army. I'd like to get Lord Felthius and his cohort. I'd like to get a set of the Bodyguard, the Death Shroud Terminators. I'd like to get a set of those. There's a really neat, unique champion. I don't need him, but it's a really cool champion. He's just standing there all heroic, and there's a Nurgling on his base wearing his helmet. It's a subject of a lot of memes. I'd like to get one of those just for the fun of it. There is a Nurgle Standard Bearer. It really doesn't do much for the army, but it's a cool looking fig, so I think I'd like to get that. And that pretty much covers everything. I've got a ton of Plague Marines left to go. Once you're done at that point, you're pretty much set. A third Fetid Bloat Drone would be nice. Maybe even a greater drone, but I don't know. They're not that great, and they're kind of expensive and pricey. Cash-wise, because you only get them from Forge World. And I don't know if they're super awesome. I think the Fetid Bloat Drones are a better deal. So we'll see. Maybe just get one to complete, have every unique figure for the army. I know there's a couple extra guys out there here and there, a couple of named figures. I don't know that I need them. I love the Death Guard. I'm not like, I must have, I think I pretty much got everything pretty good. I've got a solid 2,000 point army. I can play with it. I can go nuts and play 3,000 points if I want. The problem is there is a limit to what vehicles are available to the Death Guard. So maybe getting a Chaos Predator or a Chaos Land Raider just to fit in there. But that's not really high on the list of wants for that army. Like I said, I got a second Plague Burst Crawler coming. That's the big thing I wanted for that. I really would like a third Plague Burst Crawler. I'd like a Dorado. I'd like a Leviathan. And the Felthius cohort. That's the real core of what I want left that I don't already have. So, love playing them. They're so much fun. People hate playing against them. Yeah, I know in ITC they're not great, but I'm an ITC player, and not with those guys even. I wouldn't play them for ITC if I was in like a serious tournament. But playing at the casual friendly level, people do not like facing them. The fact that they've got that higher toughness, the fact that they've got a good armor save, and that disgusting resilient that they can just sit there and take it. The fact that I can just use stratagem points to add figures that regenerate back into units. It's considering I don't use a lot of stratagem points for other stuff all too often. I mean, basically rerolls, there's not a lot to really use unless I want to blow a vehicle up specifically where it's at. Yeah, regenerating guys. I've actually won one of my fights. I won because I was able to adjust this one unit of Plague Marine just kept taking fire, and I just kept regenerating guys back into that unit, and he couldn't really do anything about it. So it worked out really well. So that being said, that is the Inexorable Choir of Delirium. My Death Guard. 1 year, almost, like 11 months worth of painting. Actually, about 10 and a half months of painting, 10 months of painting or so. That's my guys. That's my army. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoy this sort of content. Please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll be back next week with another crafting video. Thank you so much. And as always, epic your board and epic your game. And when you paint your figures and put together an armament like this, you're definitely epic your game. So, game on.